Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. So I am here to do the mini album that we did on our live show on my Facebook page, Coffee, Cake, and Crafting. We did that Sunday at Sunday night. And I had to delete the video because I made a massive error on the book, and I don't want you guys to be following along with the live and then you make the same error and then it's super annoying and then everyone gets frustrated. So we don't want to do that. So we're just going to go ahead. I have all the measurements. I have everything worked out. So we're going to go ahead and get it together. Okay, so my error, what I did was the #1 rule in scrapbook making: do your covers and your spine last. Measure your covers and your spines last for your chipboard. I didn't do that, and so when I made mine, my spine is entirely too small. So I don't know why I didn't follow my own rules, but my book does not fit in the middle of this. So that's why I have to restart the video. Here's the book. It does not fit. See? Because I made it too big. So always do your chipboard and your spine last. So we're going to go ahead and do our pages. We're going to get our hinges together. We're going to do our pages, and we'll do our chipboard and our spine measurements last. I already know what they are because I did the error, but we're still going to do it the correct way. Okay, so you need these are our pages. You need 4 pieces of cardstock that measures 5 by 10, scored at 5. Okay, so 5 by 10, scored at 5 on the long side. You need 4 of those. Pause the video, do that. Okay, so now we have all 4, and they're all varnished, which varnishing is just taking your bone folder and making sure the crease is there. You want to make sure that your pages line up correctly. Okay, so we have all 4 pieces. We want to make sure that all of the score marks are facing to the right. Okay, because that's going to be the edge of our page. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that to the side. We are going to work on our hinge. Now the hinge, this is the hidden hinge by Kathy Orta King. Once you get it, you get it. You probably have to play with a piece of paper before, just get some scrap paper, scrap cardstock, and just keep playing with the hidden hinge method. Once you get it, you get it. You can make it for any size album, as many pages. You just keep going on and on and on. As many base pages as you want, or as few base pages as you want. It just takes a second to get it. Okay. So this piece of paper measures 5 by 8, and we are going to score it as follows. So 5 by 8 on the 8-inch side. We're going to do 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4. If you have the Martha Stewart scoreboard, it's all the dots that we're doing. If you don't have the Martha Stewart scoreboard, then it's 3, 3 1/4, 4 1/4. I might have said that wrong. Anyway, it's all the quarter marks. 3 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, and 6 3/4. Again, 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, 6 3/4. Okay, that's all we need. So you basically need 1.5 inches for your arms. Okay, it's basically, so your first inch is going to be one arm. This is your gusset. Your next 2 1/2 inches are your next arm. I like to put a little pencil mark down there so I can see arm, gusset, arm, gusset, arm, gusset, arm. That's all I need. I don't need a gusset on that side because that's the end of my book. Okay? Does that make sense? So these two are going to be an arm. Then you have your gusset and you have your arm. Then you have your gusset and then you have your arm. Okay? Make sense? This last one, so how I do it is I just like to pick them up, push it down, and it will make your arms. Okay, now we need to go ahead and put our score tape. So basically what you want to do is you're just putting score tape or wet glue inside of these valleys. I'm going to use score tape if I can find it. Wet glue just takes a little bit more time because obviously you have to let it dry. We might have to use wet glue because I have no idea what I do with my score tape. Okay, wet glue. So you're just going to put your wet glue or your score tape on this first one here. I like score tape for this because you know you're getting it edge to edge, but wet glue works just as fine. You just have to give it a second to dry. If you're using art glitter glue, it dries quickly, so you don't even have to worry about it. See, it's already dry. So you have your first arm. Same thing with the next one. Your score tape or your glitter glue. Oops, that one I put way too much because I couldn't see it. And go ahead and press that in. Wipe away any extra glue that might be there. So now you have the two arms. Okay, I found my score tape. I'm going to flip it back over. And I'm going to put that score tape in the next one. If you're once you get comfortable doing this hidden hinge method, you'll know where to put your score tape and all that, and you won't have to really even think about it. Okay, and now my last one, taper glue in the valley. Okay. That one I didn't get all the way to the edge, so I'm just going to add some glue to get it to the edge. Making sure you're not gluing down these flaps yet, okay? So now we just want to make sure our pages turn. I like to fold them one way, give it a varnish, pick it up, fold it the other way, give it a varnish. This also sets that glue and that tape, and it gives you, you know, that wiggle room for your pages. Okay, now these two little extra flaps that we have, we're just going to fold them over to reinforce that spine. That's it. So you want to make sure that your arms are, you know, all facing the top. You just have to manipulate the paper a little bit to make sure that they're all facing forward and that those flaps go smoothly on the back, right? So it looks like this when it's all taped down. I'm going to use my 1-inch score tape. You can use your 1/4 of an inch. You can use your wet glue, whatever you want. You just need to make sure you're pretty generous with it, whichever one you use. You have to use a score tape or like an art glitter glue or something like a strong adhesive. No ATG, no tape runners, nothing like that. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and get that in there and cut it so there's no overhang. I don't know if that was on camera or not, but I just cut it so there's no overhang instead of tearing it. This is actually Basic brand, BAZIC. I got it from Tall Mouse at the expo. So I'm going to go ahead and take my, means I didn't burnish it well. If your backing doesn't come off quickly and easily, that means you didn't burnish it very well and it's not adhering to the paper. And because I didn't get it all the way to the edge, just going to add that wet glue. And again, making sure that my arms are all up. Just glue it down. And the more you play with the arms, the easier your pages are going to turn. Okay, some people put Tyvek in there. I've never had an issue with my pages turning or ripping out or whatever, because I don't embellish. I'm not a heavy embellisher. I don't use a lot of embellishments, and I don't use any heavy embellishments. So if you use heavy embellishment, like a lot of metal embellishments, then you definitely want to do something more than just glue and tape. Like one or two, like the heavy Tim Holtz door knockers and all that. If you embellish with a lot of that, then you want to do something stronger. Okay. And there we go. There's your hinge. So this is where you want to measure your hinge, and then you can do your chipboard. So I think I'm gonna let's go ahead and make the book and fold chipboard later. Okay, so there's our hinge and our pages. So now let's go ahead and make all of our flips and flaps. So any mini album, the essential interaction, you're going to have flips and flaps, a waterfall, a pocket, and a belly band. Those are basically your absolute basic designs you're going to have on a mini album. Now your placement can be different. It can look exactly different, or exactly different. It can look exactly the same or different depending on your placement. So let's go. Page 1. So we have 4 base pages, so that gives us 8 layouts, if that makes sense. Page 1, we're going to do a pocket. So measure your paper. Use your scraps of what you have left over. So this one's going to be a short pocket. I had different size scraps when I did it the first time, so this time it's going to be a little bit different. So my pocket on this one is going to be 6 by 2 inches. I don't have a pen. I'm doing 6 by 2 because I'm just using these scraps. Okay. So cut it down 6 by 2. And what we're going to do is, actually you're going to cut it to 5 7/8 by 2. So we're going to take that little sliver piece off, okay? And then you're going to score it at 1/2 inch on 2 short sides and 1 long, because we're making a pocket, okay? There we go. Now on the live, I showed a different way how I do pockets, and I can show you how to do it now. If you have one of those weird measurements, like say your pages are like 5 3/8 or whatever, and it's a weird measurement, this is how I do my pockets. I go to the whole measure. So in this case, I would have did 6 by 2. I would have scored everything at that 1/2 inch on 3 sides, 2 long, 1 short, or yeah, 2 short, 1 long, sorry. So like this. And then what I would do is come back in, cut off 1/8 of an inch on the right side, and then rescore it at 1/2 inch. That way you don't have to math, and it's easy. So you just know to use this score line. Does that make sense? I don't know if I just confused you, but That's how I do my pockets, especially when it's a weird page measurement, because I do like to have a border between my pocket and my page. So you can do it either way. You can math it out, or you can just fake it till you make it, right? Okay, so go ahead and fold and varnish. Get these nice crisp lines. Now we need a miter, so we need to chop off this little piece right here up to that meeting score mark, but not past it. So I'll do it with a pen so you can see. That's what I'm chopping. Okay. Now we're going to put score tape or wet glue on our pocket. Some people like to mat first. I don't. But as you can see, it is easier to put your score tape first before you miter it, or you're going to have overhang. But I'm okay with that. Okay. There we go. So it looks like that. I'm going to take a pencil, and this is an easy step for you to remember how your book, directional wise, I need the Pac-Man mouth to be to the left, the opening to the left, okay? So mine needs to go this way. This is how I know that the fold is in the right spot. You don't have to do that. I just like to do that. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. I didn't do it in the live video, but I did explain that step. Just so I know that's the way the page needs to face. If you accidentally do it the other way, that's fine. It's easy to fix. Just your pocket page won't be a pocket. It will just be a page because you'll seal it shut and won't nobody know. Okay, so I took the score tape off my pocket and I'm going to line it up on the bottom. I like to give a little 1/8 of an inch so you can see the cardstock. And I'm dropping. Okay, and I'm varnishing. So you see how mine has that little tiny bit, I put it on Cricut, but it's fine. Little tiny bit of border. And I didn't varnish this side, but I think I varnished the other one very well, so I'm not going to be able to get it up. Oh, I might be able to. Since I put it on Cricut, yeah, you know what? This is scrapbook.com tape. I don't like it. Yeah, that came up entirely too easy. I'm going to go back to score tape. I just couldn't find my 1/4 of an inch. I did not like that. So, let's use wet glue. If you need extra wiggle room when you're using score tape, take a regular glue stick. Ah, here's my score tape. Take a regular glue stick and put it over the top of your score tape, and that gives you a little extra wiggle room. But as you can see, this scrapbooking.com tape, it just came right up, and I did varnish that. Yeah, look, it's coming right on. It's coming right up. I'm using linen paper, so like basil paper. It does not like that tape. So score tape it is. Score tape and art glitter glue. Okay. Let's do that again, and this time we're going to put the pocket on straight. I'm going to peel this off. I mean, look, it's coming off clean. I made another project using that scrapbook.com tape, and I wonder if it's going to fall apart. And I gifted it. Great. Okay. Cool. All right, let's get this pocket on straight, because I know with score tape, I got one chance. And that one chance was perfect. Okay. Yeah, see, I can't peel. I'm pulling this. There's no way I can peel that. Okay. Cool. All right, so this is page 1. Okay, that's all I'm doing on that. So the back of that first base page, we're going to call that page 2. And we need 2 flaps measuring 4 by 3.5. So let me get my paper out here. Okay, 4 by 3.5. 2 of them. Do your measurements on your page, work it out to where you save the most paper. So for me, doing my 3.5 cut first makes more sense. So, and we're going to score it. We're going to score it on the 4-inch side at 1/2. So that way you come out with this little flap. Okay, so we need our second one. 4 by 3.5. So for me, it makes more sense to cut my 3.5 first and then my 4. Okay. And on the 4-inch side, we're going to score at 1/2. Okay. Like this so. I kind of like to train my flaps a little bit so they're used to going up and down, up and down. You don't want to do too much and weaken that the seam. So this is what our page 2 is going to look like. You're going to have a flap at the top and one at the bottom. So let's go ahead and add our score tape. I grabbed my 1/2 inch, so this is going to be full coverage. And if you put it on the wrong, if you put your score tape on the wrong side, guess what? Just flip it over, okay? But we want it so that way the score tape is like this, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and peel this off. We're gonna take away this overhang. Again, use that glue stick if you don't trust yourself. We're gonna put this in the middle as best as we can. You can Tim Holtz ruler it. I'm just gonna eyeball the middle. Leave that 1/8 of an inch on the bottom and go. I'm gonna do the same thing to the top, except for I like to work upside down. So that's why I really have to mark my pages to make sure that I get the page going in the right way. Because there's nothing worse than having directional paper upside down. When you're in the construction stage right now, it doesn't really matter. I see I didn't line them up. So they're a little bit off. So you have an option here. You can either try to peel it up and line them up, or just trim it. Okay. This one I know I didn't varnish very well because I didn't. Alright, so line them up and get it in there. Okay. Now when you varnish on the inside, that's it. That tape is down. See, I can't peel it. Okay. So that is page 2. Okay, I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to grab my next base page, which is going to be page 3. I'm going to make sure my opening is to the left. That's how we need it to be. So page 3, we are doing one big flip. Okay, this is our biggest one. It's the only one that has this big flip. And this one is 5.5 by 4 7/8. So where's that big old chunk I had? Here we go. This is going to be too small. That's okay. So 5.5 by 4 7/8. And you guessed it, we're going to score a 1/2 inch on that 5.5 side. Okay, so 5.5 by 4 7/8, and score on the 5.5 side at 1/2. I need my ruler. Okay, sorry, my dog was going crazy. Okay, so we're gonna score it at 1/2 on the 5.5 inch side, like so. Okay. So it's gonna look like that. Now, if you need to trim more off the bottom, then trim more off the bottom. It's just how you want yours to look. So you're gonna fold that piece down and just kind of look. I want it just a little tiny bit more off the bottom, just so I can have that little bit of border. Okay, so if you don't want to have any border, then you want to cut this 5 by 5.5. But I like the tiny bit of border all the way around, so that's why I do 4 7/8 and then by 5.5. But then I check to see if I want more off the bottom, which in this case I did. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and add our score tape, varnish it well, and attach our flap to the top. Again, I have to work upside down, so I flip mine upside down. And then just kind of eyeball it and drop and go. Okay. Varnish it. This one I did perfectly. So varnish it, varnish it, burnish it. Okay, page 4, we're going to do our little 2-flip waterfall, if you will. So it's going to look like this. You're going to open it and open it. Okay. So we're going to cut a piece at 5.5 by 4 and a piece 5 by 4. Okay, so I'm going to mark this one so I know I'm on the back. I'm on P4, page 4. Okay, so what did I just say? 5.5 by 4 and then 5 by 4. And always for me, the long whenever I have the extra 1/2 inch, that's the side I'm going to score on. If that makes sense. Okay, so this one needs to be 5.5 by 4. Okay. So on the 5.5 side, we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. And then we're going to get our other piece, and on the 5-inch side, we're going to score it at 1/2. Okay? And score tape those flaps. 1 and 2. So these ones I don't worry about edge to edge coverage because you're going to put your pattern paper over it, and so that will give it its strength. Okay, that'll make sure that this little flap adheres to your paper. You want to go ahead and put your longer piece down first, so that way it's like this. Now you can choose how you want. If you want it exactly in the middle, if you want your flap at the top, and you can have like some cute words coming down, or vice versa, have it all the way at the bottom and then have stuff up there. However you want to do it. I do want to cut off a sliver off the side for my border. So I don't need to do it to the second piece because the second piece is already smaller. So for that 5.5 by 4, I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the middle as best as I can. Eyeball it, 1/8 of an inch, and drop and go. Okay, and we're going to varnish that inside, and we're going to go ahead and take our tape off the shorter piece, which was the 5 by 4, scored at 1/2 on the 5-inch side, and we are going to line it up exactly touching this flap. And there you have it. Okay, so we have 1 and 1. If you want to make your inside one smaller, you can do that, but I like mine like this. I like this little 1/2 inch where you can use your border strips. I don't know if you can see that because of the glare, but I like that look. Okay, so this was page 4. All right, so let's go ahead and put this aside, and now we're going to work on page 5 and 6. 5 and 6. So page 5, we are going to do a belly band. This belly band is 2 inches by 6. 2 inches by 6, because that's the scrap I have left over, and I know it works out because I already did this once. And we're going to go ahead and score this at 1/2 inch on both sides. So that way it looks like that. And if you want to have that extra room, where's my page? So leaving it at the 2 by 6, it's exactly corner to corner. I don't want mine corner to corner, so I'm going to do the little trick that I showed you before. I'm going to cut off a sliver, and then I'm going to rescore at 1/2 inch. Okay, so you can do 5 7/8 by 2, but sometimes that leaves too much of a border, so you just got to work it out on your own, really. That's why I do the trick of, you know, making the paper too long and then cutting off a sliver, because you can always cut off, you just can't add back. So that's my belly band. Now my belly band, I'm not going to glue that down. We can go ahead and put the score tape on it for when you're ready, but you do want to mat before you put your belly band down. I mean, you don't have to. If you want a paper piece and try to fit it underneath, that's fine, but that's way more work than what I want to do. And so I just write page 5 belly band. Okay. You can use your paper clips to clip it on there, but it'll get in your way right now. So page 6, we're chugging right along. We are going to do 2 of those same flaps, where they're going to be up. And on the next page, we're going to do 2 of those flaps, and they're going to go down. So we might as well cut all of these out right now. Okay, so you're going to need 2 pieces at 5.5 by 4 and 2 pieces at 5 by 4. Okay, so I think some of my scraps are pretty much this size. Let me see. They are. So 2 pieces at 5.5 by 4. Here's one that's 5.5 by 4. You may want to mark it. So I need another piece at 5.5 by 4. Not going to be that one. All right, 5.5 by 4. And here we go. And you're going to score at 1/2 inch on the long sides. So for instance, the two pieces that are 5.5 by 4, we are going to score on the 5.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. Okay. And then you're going to need two pieces which are 5 by 4. And where's that other piece I just had in my hand? So five by 4 is what we're trying to get out of this. So 5 by 4. And on the 5 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2. Okay. On both of those. 5 inch side, score at 1/2. Okay. So these are our 5 by 4s. So you need to take, for page 6, one 5.5 by 4, one 5 by 4, and page 7, 5.5 by 4, and 5 by 4. Okay? We're going to go ahead and put our score tape on all of them. And keep it moving. Keep it moving. And keep it moving. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Okay, bone folder and varnish. Or use your ruler, whatever you have. I don't know where my bone folder went. So ruler, credit card, works just fine. Piece of chipboard. Okay, so page 6. How is that flat? I don't remember. Where's my book? Page 6, they're at the top, and page 7, they're at the bottom. Okay. So we're going to put, whoops, one set aside. And, oh, I found another bone folder. Go ahead and varnish that crease. Yeah, that's what happens when your bone folder is the same color as your paper. Okay, so we want these to go at the top, like so. But again, I work backwards, and so, or upside down, so I need to do this way. Oh, my pages are not, they were not lined up correctly. So I'm just going to correct that real quick. There we go. They weren't lined up. So I turn my paper upside down. The 5.5 is going to go on top, the 5.5 page. So in the middle, 1/8 of an inch, drop it down. Voila. The 5 by 4 page, scored at 1/2 inch on the 5, is going to go right up to that line, and we are varnishing, varnishing, varnishing. And that's it for page 6. Mark this page 6. Now we're on our final base page, which is going to be page 7 and page 8. Page 7, the same thing, those same two pieces of paper that we had, that 5.5 by 4 and the 5 by 4. We're going to work with the 5.5 by 4 first. So now we want this on the bottom, so we're good to go with this one. I am going to erase this mark right here so I can erase all of it. And not worry about getting eraser chunks in my page. Okay, so kind of get it in the middle. drop and go. Take the backing off this page and butt it right up to that other one. Drop and go. Okay. I may have dropped and go that one a little bit too quickly because it's a little bit off. So that's where you want to trim it. And I'm thinking mine is a little bit too long, so I am going to pull in my paper trimmer and I'm going to trim off a little tiny bit of both of them. So see, you can always trim off before, after. It's easier before, obviously, but as you can see, after was not a big deal. So it's a little bit off. I don't know if my measurement was off or I dropped and go too quickly, but you can always take your scissors and cut that off. I am not bothered by that little tiny bit, so I'm going to leave it as is. Okay. So this is page 7. And on page 8, we're going to go ahead and put that same pocket that we did on the front. I'm going to use the one that we did already. So the 2 by 6 or 2 by 5 1/8, whichever method you want to use. Score at 1/2 inch and miter those corners. If you forget how to do that, then just you can rewind to the beginning, I guess. That's all I did. 2 by 6, scored it at 1/2, decided I wanted it a little bit smaller, took the sliver off, and then rescored it. Okay. Let me fix this camera. I keep hitting the camera, so. Okay. So page 8. Making sure my direction is correct because you don't want to upside down pocket. I mean, you can turn it into a tuck spot even though it's upside down pocket. I've done that to make it look like it was supposed to be on the top instead of the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to draw. Oh. And go. Okay. And varnish that really well. Okay. So now our pages are complete with our flips and flats. We didn't do too much interactive because we're gifting this to a non-crafter. And non-crafters tend to get frustrated when there's too much going on. Okay. So now we need to add our pages to our spine. So let's go ahead and add our score tape to our spine here. You can use wet glue. You just got to work faster. Especially if you're using like art glitter glue because it dries faster. Some people like to make sure their hinges are completely stable by putting the bigger score tape on there. It's up to you how you want to do it. I don't embellish heavy, so I don't need top to bottom coverage. If you embellish heavy, then definitely add a piece of score tape and glue that goes just above the score line. You want that full coverage. I just don't decorate like that, so I don't need... My pages will be fine with it just being taped in the middle instead of all the way from top to bottom on the hinge. Okay, and then that last piece. And we're good. We're going to go ahead and varnish this on both ways. Give it a good press. Flip your arms, your hinges, I should say. And give it a good press. And you're good to go. Okay, cool. Now we're going to attach our... Okay. Now you need to decide if you want your page to be a true pocket page, and a true pocket page is there's an opening on the top so you can put a tag in there. Or you can just seal it shut and it's done. So if you want to seal it shut, you're going to go ahead and put score tape on 3 sides and not, you just, you make sure you don't seal it shut before you put it on the hinge. So this one I want it to be a true pocket. So you can use your 1/8 of an inch score tape or your glue, and I only have a little bit of score tape left, so I'm going to show you both with the glue and the tape. Okay, so, and that is it for this roll. Well, I guess this is red line tape, but I know red line tape is just as strong as score tape, if not stronger. Just red line tape kind of annoys me because you have to cut it and it gets stuck to my hand. Okay, so I'm going to put my thumb in here so I'm not sealing this down because I need to get it on my hinge before I seal it down. So if you want your book to be page 1 is actually page 1, it needs to go on the left. If you attach it to the right, then your page 1 is actually going to be your page 7 and 8. Got it? So, which is fine because nobody but you knows which order the paper is supposed to be in. If that makes sense. So I'm going to go right up to that score line, but not touching it, the bottom score line. And I'm going to make sure that my paper is straight on there. Oops, that's not. So I have not, as you can see, I can still peel it up because I'm not pushing it down or anything. Now I am. Okay, so that worked out. And again, I didn't mess with that sticky. And then we're just going to line it up and stick it down. And making sure we got that sticky. With this flap, you may want to use a paper clip or something to kind of hold these flaps so they're not getting in your way if you want. Or some, you know, put some washi tape. Actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a little piece of washi tape so that way those flaps stay down while I'm trying to do this spine. There we go. Okay, next one. Again, you can washi tape all of your flaps down if that's easier for you to see, you know, where you're going with your paper. I don't do this step, but I just remembered somebody doing it, and it makes it easier when you're doing it, so that way your flaps aren't flipping around while you're trying to do this. So wet glue on the bottom. Maybe. I don't know where my little one just went to. Oh, here it is. This is still art glitter glue. It's just in a different bottle. Okay, none of them want to work. Great. So just a little tiny bead on the bottom. Sorry, I was having glue bloopers right there. Probably a little less than what I just used, but that's okay. Like I said, when you use wet glue, you got to kind of work a little bit quicker on this part than what I usually like to do. And your hand is going to get messy, which I don't like. So I'm lining up my pages and making sure I don't get that score line. So what I'm doing right here is I'm lining it up with the other page to make sure it's straight. Usually if you line up one side, then the other side is just fine. And now I'm just going to go ahead and pinch it and get that glue in there. So the difference between using the score tape and the glue never dries. I mean, the score tape never dries, and so sometimes your pocket tags will get caught in that glue. but you know, it's fine. Oh, I guess it would help if I took the backing off. I thought that was too easy, and then now my glue dried. I was like, why is it not closing? There you go. I was sitting there varnishing it, and the back was still on. Okay. So see, I have the pocket. I think I have a pocket. And the top. If you put your page on upside down, that is fine. Just glue the other part, and then that's just a solid page. And then you could do pocket solid, or pocket solid, solid pocket. However you accidentally get it on there, that's how you get it on there. Nobody knows that it's supposed to be all pockets except for you, right? Okay, so page 5. Where's my opening? I'm going to go ahead and do my page, and then I'll add my glue. So it's really just your preference. Lining my pages up and not hitting that score line. Press that in. See, I'm pretty fast. I'm trying to go slow to show you guys, but I'm pretty fast with it. That's why I can do the glue first, because I'm pretty quick with it. If I think about it, it goes wrong. If I just drop and go, it's right every single time. Okay. And our last page. Okay. Make sure my pocket is the correct direction, is what I want to do here. Line it up with the pages, line it up with the score mark. And I think that's crooked. The first and the last pages, I think, are the hardest to get on. Okay, so line everything up, and so your spine can completely flatten. So that's what I did. Do the other side. Glue. Tape off. And we're going to line this up. And for some reason, this one must not have been, I must not have checked it that it lined up before I added the page to the back, because it's a little bit off, but that's okay. When you put your pattern paper on, you won't see that. Okay, so the book is done. Well, the pages anyway. Let's go ahead and do the spine. Let's measure our spine. Now, this spine is 1 inch and 5/8. So this is basically depending on how you like the look of your book. I like to have, you can see the brown, I like to have that border all the way around. Okay? So my spine, you can do it at 1 inch and 5/8 or 1 inch and 7/8, so just before the 2. Or you can do it at 2 inches. This one's at 2 inches. It's a little bit more than what I like on the left and right, but I'm not annoyed by that, so I'm going to leave mine at 2 inches. So you can do 1 inch and 7/8 by what did I do this at? So my chipboard pieces are 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. You need 2 pieces. 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. Chipboard piece 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. Or you can do, you know, just measure and do your spine. If you want it exact to where you can't see, you won't see any border, then do that. I always like to leave a 1/4 of an inch around I like my chipboard pieces a 1/4 inch bigger. Okay, so to wrap our thing, I just realized I don't have any more of the same paper that I used. Hold on, I gotta go get it. Okay, so I don't have any more of this paper, this color. So I'm just gonna use an 8.5 by 11. Very close color. So take out 2 sheets and you need to cut it. So we want to add an inch to the top and the bottom. So we need We need 7.5. Let's just make it 8. No. I like to cheat. So we need it to be an inch from the bottom and an inch from the top. On the live show, I didn't do this, and so it kind of measured wrong, but it's okay. We're not too concerned about the cardstock because we're just wrapping, but it's a nice guide. Okay. So we need, yeah, I was right. Woohoo. 7.5. 7.5 by 11 or 7.5 by 12, whichever size paper you're using. Okay, so 7.5. You need 2 pieces because we need to connect it to make one big piece. And 7.5. So this trick was taught to me by Kimmy Murray when she used to be Fatty Patty Scrappers, and now she is Salty Beach Scrapper. So go ahead on your paper, score it at an inch on top and bottom. So it looks like this. Here's the long side. And then on one of your short sides. This will just give us a nice guide. You don't have to do this part at all. You can eyeball it, but this will give you precise measurements. And do the same thing on your other one. 1 inch on the long side, and then 1 inch on either of the short sides. If you forget this step, like I said, it's fine. Or you can use your ruler and your score tool after you connect it. That's what I did in the live show. So you just want to make sure your 1 inch score marks are on the opposite ends because we're going to connect it here. And we want to use score tape or wet glue. I prefer score tape because I do. We might have to use wet glue if I can't. Oh, here it is. This is my 1/2 inch score tape. You can do a 1/4. You can do an inch. Whatever you want to do. Actually, you know what? This part we're going to have to do different, but that's okay. We just made extra score marks for nothing, but that's all right. That's okay. Alright, so let's line our paper up on the 1/2 inch score tape, lining up our score lines. And there you go. Making sure we varnish that very well. Okay. Now, we want to take our spine. You want your spine to be in that middle on that seam. Well, you don't have to. Most people just do it that way because the seam on the spine is less noticeable. Sometimes I do the seam on the spine. Sometimes I just don't care and do the seam wherever it lands. But this time we'll do the seam on the spine. And We're going to go ahead and cover this corner to corner in score tape. This is 1-inch score tape. You can use your score tape pages, which we're going to use on the other ones in just a second. So no overhang. When I say no overhang, see how that glue is overhanging the edge? Just scooch it up. Oh my gosh, my son is really cracking up over there. Okay. We are almost done with the construction. Y'all gonna mat on your own, because you know I do not like to mat. Okay, so, you know, get overhang. Overhang! Oh gosh. Okay. Use your score marks as a guide. There we go. Flip it over, varnish that in. So my seam is not going to be in the middle of my spine because I forgot that I flipped the paper over. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where your seam is. It really does not matter. I don't know why I flipped the paper over, because I'm tired. Okay. So here is the other personal preference choice. The amount of space you have between your chipboard spine and your chipboard covers. Some people like to do this and have an exact chipboard width, so about 1/8 of an inch. I just eyeball mine. Some people like 1/4 of an inch. I feel 1/4 of an inch is too much. I don't know, some people swear by it, so it's whatever your preference level is, what you want. And that's what you're going to do. Don't throw these little pieces away, because that's a good piece. This is a score tape sheet. Take the backing off. Line it up. Varnish it on. Peel it off. Eyeball. Now, sometimes I write left, right, left on mine. I have to make sure that they are lined up. These ones I cut perfectly, so I didn't have to do that. So they're the same, supposed to be the same square. If you measure and cut properly, you won't have to worry about it. But like those who are on the live show saw, sometimes I cut a little wonky, and so maybe a little bit taller, so I just got to kind of piece them together until I find the side that matches. Yeah, because I have the guillotine and it's very hard to, I have the Stampin' Up! Guillotine, and it's very hard to line up if it's not a, you know, sorry, I can't talk and do this at the same time. It's hard to line it up on the guillotine if it's not a full like inch mark, because I don't know, the tick marks are just weird on there, and I think that's one of the reasons why they discontinued it. Okay, so we can go ahead and add that piece, and I'm going to add the piece in my hand that I just cut off. So just piece it together. Do not waste your score tape page. I have another long piece right here. That one I already took the back off, so I just want to make sure I piece it on there. But I can also use my 1-inch. You know, just piece it together. Oh, my 1-inch is right here. That's fine. Normally I wouldn't have used this little piece, but I already took the back off it and I didn't know where it went, so that's why I'm doing it this way. I didn't varnish that very well. Okay, any overhang needs to come back. I am going to fill in this little piece right here and up here with the glue, because it's just that little tiny bit. It's fine. Some people don't like to use glue on the chipboard covers because sometimes you can see the glue lines depending on what glue you use. I have not experienced that, and I use wet glue or score tape depending on whichever one I grab out the thing. So, and to me, you're going to cover it anyway, so I don't know. That's just me. Okay, so this is where I said we kind of made the score line for nothing because we need to cut some of this off. You need to cut, you know, enough, like an inch. Just leave an inch on, inch and a half, whatever you want. I'm just going to do... I'm going to scissor cut on that line. Save these pieces because you can use them as tags. You can use them for your punches. I think I did the same thing in the live channel. I'm just a creature of habit. I always do these extra score marks even though I don't need them. But I think since I've always done it, it's just ingrained in my head now. So I'm just using my bone folder to kind of go over these score lines. So that just kind of trains my paper to let it know, hey, this is what I want you to do. Now I have to be a little bit more gentle on this paper because this is just the Michaels 65-pound weight. So this one's going to be a little bit weaker. So I have a gap here, which is fine with the Michaels paper. I like to put those gaps there because this paper cracks easily. Well, I guess it doesn't crack easily. That's not a fair statement. Sometimes it cracks easily. So if you add a little bit more, it won't crack, but you're going to have that extra loose paper there. So it's up to you how you want to do it. I don't like my paper to crack. It's easy to fix cracked paper. Honestly, you just take a wet glue and you put it in the crack and you wipe it in and you're good to go. So it's not a big deal of cracked paper, but I don't like it. Okay, so there we go. Now, we need to eventually, hold on, let me close my glue up. We need to eventually chop off these sides. You can do it one of two ways. You can do it diagonal like that, but you want to make sure you leave enough room between your line and your tip. See how much room that is? You need to leave a lot of room. Some people like to do the method where they just cut the square. So it always leaves that room, but it leaves a lot of bulk. So, and then you do have to miter and all that. So I just like to do that. If you cut it too short, we can fix it. It's not a huge deal. Putting the score tape on the chipboard or the paper is your preference. I see people who do 1/4-inch score tape on the tip of the cardstock or the top of the cardstock, and then they put the 1/4 of an inch here. I'll show you. Well, all I have is 1/2 inch right here. So they do 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, whatever you have, on the chipboard and then on the top of the cardstock. I just use my 1 inch and cover the whole daggone thing. It's really up to you, your preference. Like I said, I just like to cover the whole thing. It's probably overkill, but that's what I like. And yes, I do cover mine before I cut because it's easier to get that full coverage with it whole than with that diagonal. So, but that's your preference too. You can miter it first and then miter it first and then tape it, or tape it and then miter it. So I'm going to go ahead. Some people don't like to tape a miter because it does waste a little bit of tape, but it's just a little piece. And you're going to need that piece. If you cut too much, you're going to need that piece to fix it. So and sometimes I don't cut enough. Like this one, I don't think I cut enough. Yeah. Just get a little bit closer to that edge. If you don't cut enough, you can always try to cut another little sliver, or you can just push it in at the end. So we want it to line up like that, like a nice picture frame. If you cut too much of it, you're gonna have a gap. That's fine. Take one of these triangle pieces, put her right there, and then it covers that gap. Okay? Easy fix. No one's gonna notice it unless you point it out, I promise. Even other crafters. Okay, I did not varnish that tape very well, so hopefully it sticks. I like to do the long sides first, for nothing other than my preference on how the sides look. So like for instance, this one I did not cut enough, so you see there's a big overhang. So when I go to fold it over, it's going to be bulky, or it's going to have an overhang. So you can choose to cut that little piece out if you want to fool with it, like get an X-Acto knife or your paper snips and then cut that piece out, or you can just leave it in there. Normally I just leave it in there, but I'm just showing off for you guys right now. Just push it in. Okay. And then I'm going to do this side. Tamika cuts out little triangles. I don't know where her pen is. So she does like a little triangle here, and she would do another little triangle there to kind of cut some of the bulk out. I'm okay with that bulk right there. If you cut the triangles, it's going to be 1, 2, 3 pieces you have to worry about folding up. I'm okay with just doing it all in one shot. That is user preference. And see, I had already trained my paper, so see how easy it was just to get it up. Varnish that glue down. Okay, same thing with the corners. Making sure there's no overhang. And we're just gonna... Okay, so for instance, this one, I cut too much of an angle. So all I'm gonna do is take a little triangle piece, and I'm just gonna add it right on in there. So I just need this little piece right here. See that? See what I'm talking about? Oops, I forgot I took the back off. It's not gonna match. It has a gap. Let me fix that gap right now. So one of those corner pieces that we chopped off, we're going to stick it right in here. Match it right up. You may have to make sure that I didn't match it up too nicely on the bottom piece, so I just have to cut off this little tiny bit of overhang. You can use your X-Acto knife. I just don't know where mine is, so there's a little tiny bit that's stuck to my finger. And here we go. Problem solved. Gap is hidden. Okay? I'm glad you guys got to see that, because I just cut it too steep of an angle when I was trying to do the other part. Okay. Same thing on this side. Score tape backing off. Get that in there. And these ones I didn't cut enough, so they have a little tiny bit of overhang. And I'm just going to cut that off. It's fine. No stress. Okay. Now we do need to go ahead and kind of guide this. I put my bone folder in there and just kind of guide it up. We don't want to move too fast because you can rip it. So you kind of just put your bone folder in that gap and just kind of manipulate that paper so that way you have a book. Like this one is probably going to crack right there, but it's fine. And this is what I was talking about, like when people leave a 1/4 of an inch, it's just, excuse me, exposed cardstock. So there's no, nothing in there. Some people leave their score tape in there with the backing on. Yeah, see, mine cracked because I'm using the cheaper paper. But that's fine. You guys get to see all the tips and tricks tonight. Let me show you. I wasn't very slow like I told you guys. I did it too fast and it ripped. You're going to cover that with paper anyway. But look. Smooth it back in there. And your crack is gone. That's all you have to do. Your crack is gone. Okay. Now, it's still wet, but that's fine. We'll keep it moving. Now this next part is up to you. Some people like to take another sheet of paper and cover the whole thing on the inside. Like they'll do, you know, half and then another sheet or whatever. I personally like to do pattern paper, and then I do like, in this case, I would do 3 inches of a 1/3 paper. That's just how I was taught. I think, I don't know which one of the people I used to watch taught it that way, but that's just how I like to do it. For time's sake right now, what I'm going to do is just put a paper in the middle. Just for, so you can see the spine going in. I just need to find one that matches. Well, this doesn't, this is a different page, but that's fine. So I'm just going to cut this down to roughly 3 inches by the, I'm going to do, I like to have that 1/8 of an inch border. So I did mine by, no, that's too short. Ruler, always measure, don't just guess, because as you can see, it's too short. So because I had that little gap on either side, mine is now just slightly over 5 1/4. So I'm just going to make mine 5 1/4. Here we go. So I'm going to do like 3 inches by 5 1/4. All right. If you did your spine on your spine, the exact width of your spine with your chipboard spine, you don't even have to worry about this part because it's just going to match perfectly. But because I didn't do that, it's not going to work. So let me do this so you can see what the heck I'm talking about. This is going to be a fall book. So what I would normally do is like put a piece of paper here, a piece of paper here, and then do one in the middle. But for time's sake, I'm just going to show you the whole thing like so. Let me see if I like that 5 1/4 measurement. I do. So I'm just going to paper piece mine up again. This is the way that Tamika does it. I'm sure other crafters do it too, but this is just how I learned it with Tamika. So I'm going to do 2 pieces at 5 1/4. Because basically you want to hide what we're about to do. So we're going to make this piece 5 1/4 by 6 1/2. so one piece, 5 1/4 by 6 1/2. And then we're going to do one piece at by 6. So we're just paper piecing it to kind of hide it. You can, you know, make it one continuous piece if you want. I'm not going to do that. And this is very thin paper, so we can use tape runner. I would use a strong tape runner. This paper is so thin. It's probably the same thickness as copy paper, so I am confident in my tape runner. If you're using thick paper like Authentique or Simple Stories, obviously you want to use score tape. You don't want to use a tape runner because it's not going to work. But this little cheap paper right here, like I said, it's about the thickness of copy paper. And I'm lining it up so I can have the border that I choose. And I'm going to go ahead and lay it down. And I'm going to take my second piece, and I want this wood to be showing on that side. So this tape runner is pretty thick, but again, I would not use it on thick paper, just this cheap copy paper thickness paper. I don't want nobody saying I said use tape runner. Okay, so what I'm going to do is line up this side before I line up that. But you do want to be mindful of where you're placing it. So you're kind of lining up both at the same time. Okay, so just kind of want it like that. And that should just kind of lay down like so. And see where I made that oopsie daisy? You can just barely see it. Put an embellishment there if it bothers you. That doesn't bother me. It's at the bottom of the book. I don't care. Obviously, you're going to cover this more than what I just did. But for time's sake, this is what we're doing. Okay, so train that paper. This is super thin paper, so it's, you know, easy to train. Okay. I don't know where my glue is. Here we go. Score tape, score tape, score tape, guys. Or glue. Tape runner was just for this video, not in real life, okay? Or tape runner, yeah. Okay, so we're good with that. Dang, my paper is just cracking up. That's okay. See how it's cracked? I'm going to put washi tape to cover mine, because I just cracked it again by being too rough with it. I forgot I didn't, like with the linen paper, so paper like the Basil or American Crafts, it's, you can't tear that paper up. But with the Michaels, it's very easy to tear it up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and attach our book. Actually, you know what? I think I have a brown duct tape that I'm going to use to secure my spine since my paper is cracking up. That'll be really pretty to have that extra texture if I can find it. If not, then I'll just add whatever to make my book look great. cracked pages are nothing to cry about because they're easy fix. You just need to make sure you reinforce it because, actually that wasn't Michael's paper I used. That was old Stampin' Up! Paper that I used on the cover. That's why. It's probably 10 years old. And it was the old Whisper White that's super thin. Or very vanilla, excuse me. That is super thin. That's why it cracked. Because it's not... It's 10 years old. So, you know, that's mainly for card bases. You don't use it, but that's what I had on hand. So that's what I used. We'll fix it. Okay, make sure your book is directional. I want this wood to be to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and add my spine. Eyeballing it. You know, every time I do a spine, I'm like, oh, why do I like these borders? Because you have to kind of eyeball it so it's even on both sides. But again, just give it a little tap so you still have wiggle room to play with it down here to make sure you're straight. And of course, I would have to pick the busiest paper. I think I'm pretty straight, so I'm going to go ahead and varnish it down in between the pages. I like where it landed. Make sure that that is on there. It's straight enough. There you go. So your book is now, the construction part is now done. Now all you need to do is cover it. And honestly, what I'm going to do to fix this spine, I am just going to take this same paper and I'm just going to cover it. That way it looks like it's meant to be. And you're good to go. I'm just going to crease it a little bit. And I'm just going to trim a little bit off here. My paper trimmer. So this is a good way to cover your cracks. I'm probably going to put a stronger piece of adhesive on the spine right here. I'm going to take my 1-inch score tape and I'm going to line it on this so that way it is super strong, even though I used the wrong quality paper for it. It is no big deal because guess what? This score tape just took care of that for us. And I'm going to do it on the other side as well. So that way there's a 1/2 inch of score tape on either side. This is so super sticky. And this covers up your seam on your spine as well. I'm going to go ahead and cut this overhang off. Okay. So see there? We're good. And then however you want to decorate it, you know, that's what color paper you'll put on there, but I'm just going to decorate mine with this piece of paper that I already measured and whatnot. I'm going to put another piece of score tape down the middle so that way I have full coverage on this piece of paper. Yep, I'm doing it off camera, I know. I'm just putting tape on. You guys know how to do that. See, I just put it down the middle. And let's go ahead and take that off. Put that there. If you have directional paper, make sure it's directional. You know, in the correct space. And so I forgot that my paper is not the full length and I put score tape from top to bottom. That's fine. I plan on putting extra other strips on there as well, like border strips. So it's not gonna matter. Or if you have it to where it's too sticky in a place, then just add baby powder, or if you have a glue eraser, which I do have, you just erase that glue right off the top there. But I like to add little stuff on my border, on my spine, so mine will be just fine. So there you go. We fully covered that crack. We solved that problem. It looks gorgeous so far. You can still put your paper on top of it. You're good to go. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.